Right guys, very quick one from me before we start the video. So if you can, please take 2 minutes just to subscribe to the channel. That'd be amazing. So there's so many more benefits that we can get by getting more subscribers on the channel. We're just hitting, I think it's nearly 1,700 subscribers, which is absolutely amazing. It's way more than what I thought we'd get. But I've got sponsors lined up, big sponsors for the channel that have seen the videos that really like them but can't commit until we get to a certain amount of views per video or so many subscribers. So by subscribing to the channel and liking the videos, then you're making a massive impact and driving the channel forward. So if you just take 2 minutes now just to do that, I'll be very much appreciative. Hope you enjoy the video. My Mercedes C-Class has been my daily for the last 3.5 years and it's never let me down. Until now, I've just treated it to a new set of alloy wheels and tyres and a nice roof spoiler. And guess what? Yeah, it broke down, the engine management light's on and it's in limp mode. Let's take a look. So I first saw this error about a year ago, but it allowed me to reset it using this AutoLink OBD tool. So I carried on and just reset it when I needed to. Come on, maybe once every 3 months. I last seen it a couple of months ago and let me reset it absolutely fine. And obviously this time it's kicked in as a persistent error and it won't let me reset it until I replace the sensor. Flipping cat, come on Kev. I'm trying to do work here. So now I've reset it. If I go back in and try and read the code again, you'll see it's not disappeared, it's still there. And if we try and start the car, it's still going to have the engine management light illuminated. If I start the car, then I've got the engine management light on, but also the revs are limited to about 3,000 RPM, so it's in limp mode. Right, so the issue's caused by the differential pressure sensor, and I actually have one to hand here. So I bought this over a year ago. I've got the intermittent fault. It's my fault, I should have changed it, because at that point it was letting me, up until last week it was letting me clear it every now and again, maybe every couple of months. But now it's stopped letting me clear it, so it's become a persistent fault. So we've got to change this. Now this actually lives down the back of the engine. I'll be able to see it with this engine cover on. Right there, that's the bolt for it there. That's the sensor there. Absolute pig to get to with no room. So to do that we've got to remove the engine cover, airbox, air intake, all that nice gubbins, get it out, and that should reveal a bracket. Then we can take off and get to the actual sensor. So I start by removing the cold air intake from the front of the engine, and this next bit's a bit of a nightmare. You have to give it a bit of a wiggle and eventually it will come free. And there we go. And next up, I remove the engine cover. It's got a little turny screw thing in the middle at the front to release it, and there's 2 rubbers at the back that hold it in. So we just take that off and set that to one side out of the way. Now my engine cover, one of the mounts is broke, so I'm just going to set that level when we put the engine cover back on. And next up we need to remove the inlet, cold inlet for the MAF. So we're just going to drop that band off and pull the pipe out and just let it rest against the MAF for now. While we're at it, we just need to remove the connector from the MAF itself and move that out of the way to stop it getting broke. And that pipe will just sit there out the way and allow us to remove the airbox and get past it. So next up we need to tackle some of the connectors on top of the airbox that are attached to the ECU. So there's this front one here. If we get a screwdriver in, and try and release the clips and give it a bit of a wiggle, it'll come out. And then there's the data connector, which is the grey one for the ECU. We just undo the clip on that one and pull it out. And then we move on to the red one, which is the power connector for the ECU. Again, it's another lever. Throw the lever, gently pull the connector out. What you really need to try and do though is the mistake I made was not to move that connector, the black one, which obviously is stopping me getting the connectors past it. So some of these, they're a little bit brittle, so just be careful. I'm just using a screwdriver to gently lever that lever up. That black connector on top of the airbox is a bit chicken and egg. You kind of need it out the way to be able to get the grey connector out, but you can't really move the grey connector until the black one's out, vice versa. But the best way I found to do it was just using a screwdriver to lever the grey one over the top of the black one, and then you can remove the black one away from you towards the engine firewall. Now I just need to release the harnessed clips that are tucked down the side of the ECU. They are a bit difficult to get out. If you put a screwdriver in and gently lever them up, they'll eventually pop out, which will allow us to move the harnesses back out of the way so we can remove the airbox and the ECU wholesale. Now by forcibly lifting up on the airbox, we should be able to release the front, and then if we lift and twist the airbox to the side, that'll then release the rear two rubber mounts that are actually into the bracket which we want to remove. Then it's just a case of popping out the 3 supporting bolts that hold the bracket into the engine block. And by bending the bracket forward, we can actually get to the 8mm bolt that's holding the sensor in place. There's another 8mm bolt below it that holds the pipes in place, but don't undo that. It's handy to hold the pipe steady whilst you're removing the sensor, because otherwise you run the risk of them dropping down the back of the engine. To remove the factory pipe clamps, just get a small screwdriver in and twist it, and they will pop out and pop undone, and you'll be able to remove them. They're very difficult to refit, so in this instance I'm just going to fit my own clips that I've got to the pipes. Okay, so we've got the new sensor in. Absolute pig getting this plastic like assembly up. You just have to keep prying it up because of course it's next to a source of heat. It gets really brittle. But anyway, I managed to squeeze that new one on there. That ain't going nowhere. That's absolutely solid. So now I need to get that put back onto them pipes, get them clips back on, get this reattached, and then get everything back together. And hopefully that solves the problem. Well, now at this point, now I've got the sensor connected, I typically plug the OBD tool back in and make sure that the error clears. Unfortunately, our ECU's on the floor, and we can't do that. So we crack on, get everything reinstalled, and then we'll test the code clears. So I've completely stuffed it. I've managed to snap one of the pipes off the replacement sensor. Damn it. Now luckily my local auto parts store actually stocked this item on the shelf, and it was only 50 quid. So I managed to pop down, pick another one up to carry on and get this thing done. So that was a broken part, as you can see. I managed to snap the pipe off just by trying to twist it out of the pipe. Now I've managed to get that out with the connector. So I just want to check the pipe to make sure there's no damage to the pipe and we can get a good seal on it. It has got a bit of damage to the top there, so we're going to get in and trim that off, I think. So I'm going to use my snips. Let's try and there we go. So that's the damaged bit of pipe we've trimmed off. Okay, so I've pushed. I haven't got a clip for the smaller pipe. I'm trying to get that on as well as what I can. I'll probably put a zip tie around it just to hold it, because it has got a bit of a ferrule end on it, so it should, like bulbous end, so it should hold it. Then I've put a normal hose clamp on the other side, which should be easy enough to tighten down. So I'm going to try and get this pipe fully home, like so. Then we're going to get the connector back in on here. So it won't go that way, it must be that way. Let's see, it only goes one way. It does indeed. So it'll be that way. Pushed home like that. Then there is a little cage there which fits in around the connector to stop it backing out, and that is just literally pushed home when the connector's in there, just to retain it. then got the larger of the bolts, which is going to connect this back in. Like so. I've lost my 3/8 ratchet, so I'm having to use my torque wrench, so the best I've got at the moment. No doubt it'll turn up in the engine of the TC or something, but we'll get there. Okay, that's nipped up with the 8mm. Then there's some cables to remember. They're clipped over these ones here. It's actually snapped, but that's where it goes. And then there's these 3 bolts that go into here. Hopefully that gives you a better view. Try and feed them in the original holes. Right. We're going to have to come back in here to do the rocker cover gasket anyway, because that is seeping reasonably bad. This literally has some bungs at the back which go into this bracket here. You can see the locator holes there. And at the front, there's these 2 here which sit into these 2 at the front. The thing is with this, we've got to make sure we don't trap any pipework, any cables. That's it. There we go, that's back into place. So now we can reconnect the inner intake, and obviously there's a connector which we removed from the MAF sensor, so I can go back in. So I can do this first. So that's in. Put the MAF sensor home. Right, now make sure we put these in first before putting this connector back together, because that will obstruct stuff. Right, now it's a case of clicking these cables back together, and then they slide back towards you on a little tab, just like that, to make sure they're in, and then we can then start to reclip these pipe holders here. Some of them may be broken for anything like mine. Obviously been in and out a few times. Right, let's all that back together. There's the air intake pipe which feeds under here. The cool hoses. This one you just have to kind of play with until it clicks back on. It can be quite awkward. Well, you shouldn't catch your fingers in it because it does hurt. And that clicks into the engine, and this bracket clicks in there to hold that in place. And then we're just missing the engine cover. So I think let's try to see if we can start her and clear the codes. Okay, we're powered up. Pop the keys in, turn the ignition to stage 2. Then we should be able to connect to the ECU. All the anti-theft warnings and everything off the dash have gone now. So it's looking promising. So we've got the code found. Go into engine, read codes, diesel particulate filter. I'm hoping we should be able to erase these codes now. Let's try to read codes again. No codes, so it's actually cleared down now. So what I'm going to do now is just quickly show you it started. Right, let's get in there. And we started with no codes, no warning lights. And we all seem good. I'll put the engine cover back on and jobs are done. And there we are, it's running bloody lovely again. It's a good thing about them, because is that they break, they don't tend to be expensive to fix. It's usually silly little things like sensors. Well, at least that fixed it anyway, but going forwards I've got some rim blades to fit to the wheels once we've got the wheels refurbed on this. I've also got some rear suspension to fit, so I've got new shocks, new springs. Thanks for watching guys, hope you found this useful or at least entertaining. Catch you on the next one.